Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
I was lucky that at 18 I knew what I exactly wanted to do, but I didn't know who I was. How could I, and how could any of us? Because for the first 25 years of our lives, we are trained to listen to voices that are not our own. Parents and professors fill our heads with wisdom and information, and then employers and mentors take their place and explain how this world really works. And usually these voices of authority make sense, but sometimes doubt starts to creep into our heads and into our hearts. And even when we think that's not quite how I see the world, it's kind of easier just to nod in agreement and go along. And for a while, I let that going along define my character, because I was repressing my own point of view, because like in that Nilsson song, everybody was talking at me, so I couldn't hear the echoes of my mind. And at first, the internal voice I needed to listen to was hardly audible, and it was hardly noticeable, kind of like me in high school. But then I started paying more attention, and my intuition kicked in. And I want to be clear that your intuition is different from your conscience. They work in tandem, but here's the distinction. Your conscience shouts, here's what you should do, while your intuition whispers, here's what you could do. Listen to that voice that tells you what you could do. Nothing will define your character more than that.
Sometimes in life, to be successful, oftentimes, most of the time, you have to follow your instincts. You have to follow your gut. You have to. Your parents may say wrong, your whoever may say wrong, but you have to do it.
I don't think that you're born with a gut. I think the gut matures and gets better and better over time. And what the struggle that most people have, I think, is learning to listen to it and figuring out how to access it in some way. For me, though, what I found was that even though I'm an engineer and an analytical person at heart, the most important decisions I've made had nothing to do with any of that. They were always based on intuition.
Intelligence may load the gun, but instinct pulls the trigger. Let me tell you this quick story. What started me on this path was I was in South Africa. I'm on a safari, never been on a safari before, country boy, on a safari. And this zoologist is taking me on a safari in South Africa, and he's going along with a Zulu. And the zoologist is explaining all about these animals, the elephant and his habitat, his environment, his mating practices, the eagles and the zebras and all of these different animals, all kinds of intricate detail down to the formation of their teeth. The problem was he could explain the elephant, but he couldn't find it. Finally, as the day went on, he said the Zulu, who had said nothing the whole safari, we saw a lot of animals, but we hadn't seen the elephant. The Zulu stood up and said, the elephant is over there. And when he said it, bells went off in my head, because all of a sudden I realized I am seated between intellect and instinct.
We should learn how to trust our gut, intuition. Because in most of the stories I looked at, and in most of the quotes I collected, I didn't see people picking up intuition as the crucial element of the success. While in my profession in chess, intuition is virtually everything. Because chess, some people don't recognize it, is a mathematically infinite game. The number of moves in the game of chess, all the moves, contains 120 zeros, which is more than number of seconds since the moment Big Bang created the universe. So how can you find your way, in this ocean of possibilities? And of course, how a man can fight a machine that could calculate tens and tens of millions of positions per second. Intuition. Because it's all about decision-making process, and we never employ calculation as the main tool. It's 1% of calculation in less than 99% of our understanding, of our ability to find intuitive ways to compare incompatible material versus quality, time versus material. So intuition plays a key role, and we have to trust our intuition, our instinct, because in life also we have many opportunities where we cannot foresee all the consequences, and there's only one choice, it's just to trust your gut.
Adrian de Groot was famous for doing a series of studies in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s around the game of chess. And in one study in particular, he had chess novices and chess masters involved, and in both cases they were shown a chessboard of a chess game halfway in progress, but they were only allowed to see that chessboard for 5 seconds. Then the curtain went down, and they got a fresh board, and they had to recreate what they saw. And the chess novices, this was really a difficult task. And they got on average 4 or 5, maybe 6 pieces right. After that, they couldn't remember anymore. But of course, for the chess masters, this was easy because they had the familiarity. They could chunk the information down. They saw this storyline of the game in progress. They saw the strategy of both sides. So for them, it was very easy to recreate what they saw. And so what we learn is that intuition, these intuitions are in fact a combination of experience and expertise. When you have experience and expertise in a given area, these intuitions, these almost superhuman intuitions, come automatically. So the question is, what's the fastest way to get experience and expertise in a given setting? And the answer to that question is immersion. When you immerse yourself into something, you automatically get that experience and expertise much, much quicker. So intuitively, it makes a lot of sense that if you want to learn French, the best way to do that is to go to France and live there for a period of time. You would learn far more by living in France than by taking French lessons every week for months or even years. Or if you wanted to learn to become a snowboarder, this one's fascinating. If you want to learn to snowboard, you're much better off going 5 days in a row than going 1 day every week for 5 weeks. In both cases, you're on the mountain for 5 days. But you see, when you do it all in one time, it gives your unconscious mind an opportunity to see those patterns, to organize all that new information and start to understand. You move up that learning curve way, way quicker. So my challenge to all of you is to take a more active role in your own lives. With this knowledge, take a more active role and use immersion. Incorporate intentional immersion into your lives in the areas in which you're passionate. Because if you do that, you're going to develop superhuman intuitions that will allow you to advance much, much quicker. And in doing that, you will take one giant step to becoming a superhero of your own.